My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have the head coach of the Cheshire softball program, Kristine Drust. Kristine, great to be able to have you on the podcast, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be able to make your appearance here.
Chris, thank you so much for having me and wanting to talk about our awesome game, softball. I appreciate it.
Kristine, one of the biggest things in the game of softball is, you think about the teamwork, you think about the energy. You and I were just discussing how ESPN and ESPN2 have shown more softball than they have baseball, to my recollection. And I think you've noticed that as well.
Sure.
Before we talk about yourself as far as how you got into the game of softball and coaching, just talk to me about how softball is really starting to open their arms and welcome the entire country to this beautiful game.
So I think kind of, where it started is, a few years back, they started really showcasing a lot of the championships on ESPN to just kind of give it a shot. And I think just with the athleticism and the coaching and the speed and the environment, and kind of like the organized chaos that softball kind of puts on TV, it started kind of drawing the attention of the country, along with, the Olympics and the professional leagues that are around. The energy is just there, and it's fun and it's fast. And there's just so much energy on the field. And I think that unlike some other TV sports, you can really feel that through the TV when you're watching. And I just think that that's really helped.
Now, that energy that you speak about, is that part of the reason how softball was able to kind of grab you and say, Kristine, you're coming to this game? Is that how it got you?
No, I have to say that it started with my brothers. Both my brothers played baseball. My dad played softball kind of growing up. And I feel like, the America's pastime, right? I think it kind of grabs some families. So I played baseball for a couple of years, and then, my parents shifted me over to softball. And I think, again, it just being fast paced, it was more fast paced than baseball was, just more fast paced, real competitive, a team sport, but you're also out there alone sometimes at your position, and you're alone up to bat. So I love the challenge of kind of having to perform individually, but also having, a team and being a part of a team sport.
So how did you get into coaching? Was that something that you always felt like you may have been a coach one day? Talk to me about that.
So I feel like the first time that I really thought about it, I was a catcher in high school. And, I was just kind of tossing the ball to my coach during infield as a catcher. And sorry about that. And I just remember kind of talking with him about maybe some things we should do or some approach we should take. And I remember him looking at me and saying, like, hey, you want to take the bat over? Like, do you want it? And I just felt like I always looked at the game inside the game and not just throwing and catching and fielding, that I really enjoyed learning all positions and learning all avenues of the game. And I think I just kept feeding that idea and kept looking at the game, not just from my perspective, but from a coach's perspective and other players' perspectives and the other team's perspective. And I think once you start kind of building that knowledge, and I built that knowledge, I kind of built the confidence to be able to relay that information to help others. And I think I just kept building that. And then after, when I got to college, I started doing some lessons with some youth players. And then my coach in college offered me the assistant coaching job kind of before I graduated. So as soon as I graduated, the next fall, I took over the assistant coaching job at my college.
Now, how was that, as far as, like you said, before you even graduated, you were offered the position and kind of just being thrusted into a certain degree? Not saying you weren't prepared, but still, anytime you get a big job like that, especially an assistant coach, that's a lot of, I don't know, pressure is the right word, but maybe kind of just expectations. We'll go with that. Just take me into that.
Sure. I mean, I think the biggest challenge was coaching my teammates that I had the year before. And I think through the process of coaching, I made a lot of mistakes as a first year coach, more so from your delivery, right? How you deliver criticism or critiques or changes. But I think it also helped me too, because I got some honest and loyal feedback. But yeah, I mean, I think anytime that you kind of you're put into a leadership role, never mind in a competitive atmosphere, which is very emotional and vulnerable. Um, you kind of put yourself out there, and it's pretty difficult. But I think all those difficulties make it that much more enjoyable. And having that opportunity is hard to come by these days. It's hard to get these jobs now. So I'm very thankful, and luckily I learned so much from being a young coach at such a young age, that I don't think that I'd be kind of where I am now with forming relationships with my players if I didn't start that soon.
Was there ever a point during the early part of your coaching career where second guessed yourself, doubted if you could do it by any means? Because I know, especially with being, we talked about baseball as far as being a young player, how these baseball players are coming up at 19, 20, 21, dealing with so much, and just playing sports in general, high school, college, pro, there's expectations, and we're seeing kind of how much of a toll that takes. And it's why we need to really kind of support one another and be there, especially for all of your teammates, regardless, or even the opposing teammates as well. Um,
Mhm.
was there ever a point where you felt like, what, can I do this? Am I able to coach at this level? Can I do it?
I think early on, one of the things that I always asked myself was, am I right for them? And I also, think that some often take on the role of coaching without truly understanding the impact that coaches can have on lives. Um, so I remember at that young age, am I going to be able to make a positive impact? And when you ask yourself that question, it also forced me to seek out knowledge and seek out my peers and helping me through how you deliver information. How do you motivate? How do you motivate an unmotivated player? How do you motivate a player after they have a bad day, or different ways to deliver fundamentals, kind of those things. So I just sought out education. I sought out better ways, different ways. And I think it was probably maybe my third or fourth year, what really stuck with me is that the number one thing you need to do with your players first is connect with them. And when you do that, there's trust and there's respect and there's loyalty that's formed. And I think that when coaches focus on that, and that's kind of where I was the first 5 years of my journey here, was realizing that. And my peers and, seeking out knowledge of the game just kind of helped me get to that point, and figured out that connecting with my players for sure was the first thing to do if you want to impact their game and their life.
So the Cheshire Rams opportunity at the time when it was open, how did you find yourself being able to go now to the high school game? What made you come down?
Sure. So I spent 8 years at UMass Lowell, and I spent 3 years at Central Connecticut. In 2011, along came my husband and I's first child. And, it became increasingly difficult to kind of travel throughout the months of February through April and May, during his first year of life. And ironically, my husband was offered the Cheshire High School coaching job, football job, that August of 2012. And when the AD came to the house, he kind of said, we would love for this to be a package deal. And, I was thinking that it would probably be a better family decision if I could find an opportunity that didn't pull me in so many different directions, but still keep softball in my life. So I definitely thought about it. And that following fall, I decided to make the switch to the high school level. And I think that it has benefited just my family and me being a mom for sure as well.
I like that how, if we're gonna get one, we want both.
Yeah.
I like that how the Rams work there. They made sure they got everything there. That's pretty cool.
There one thing about Cheshire, it's really, about family and players and former players come back and they want to coach and they want to be a part of it. The
Mm.
town and the community has just done an awesome job of kind of rallying around that. And yeah, we're super, super happy and we have a ton of support from our community, which helps the job be that much more enjoyable.
It's crazy too because typically because I see so many names and sometimes I kind of just glance over. I'm like, oh, no way that there's any relation. And I'm like, wait, hold on. You're Coach Drust, his what? And I'm like, wow, okay, makes
Yeah.
sense. I didn't put two and two
we
together,
kind
but
of pass in the night,
yeah.
but it's really good. It's good, and we learn from each other,
Mm.
and we talk about each other's challenges, and we help each other through each other's challenges of coaching this generation, and it's
Mm.
been really great. So
Yeah, this generation, they like to be on their phones a lot, as you would know.
they
Big
do,
time. Big
yes.
time.
Yep, big time. And again, that's part of coaching, right? Is
Yep,
understanding their challenges and their distractions, right?
exactly.
Um, and that's part of coaching this generation is connecting with them and understanding what their distractions are too.
Exactly, because
So,
back when they were younger, it was completely different than what it is now. Because now it's people make fun of Snapchat, call it Snap Face, Instagram, Facebook,
hmm
Twitter. They all want to make sure they're on that, which is good because I feel like
hmm
social media can be used in a positive way. As I'm sure you saw, and I know you do a great job on social media, making sure you pump out positivity and positive stuff. Uh, you know,
hmm
because of the COVID situation a lot of players missed opportunities to kind of get themselves out
hmm
there. So being
hmm
able to push their content out, I thought was a great way, seeing it in Connecticut. And I'm sure when you saw that, that had to make you pretty happy.
Yeah, I thought, Twitter at that time was priceless, truly. There's two or three classes of recruitable players that, this year even the 23s are in a tough situation just because colleges are working with like 5 and 6 classes, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, red shirts, and second year seniors. So yeah, it really has been so valuable for those players to just kind of get themselves out there and it still is, it still is. We have these programs that really don't have a ton with all the budget cuts have, their recruiting money or their travel budgets have been cut or sliced up a little bit. And so, Twitter and social media has given those schools that have maybe gotten their budget cut and been able to keep things kind of even across the board just because they're able to see these players, on the platform too. So, and a bunch of our players have used it and players are continuing to use it. And what I love most is that it's also giving a platform to celebrate your teammates, which I love. I love the girls when they're posting about themselves, but I also love, and coaches love, and my peers love. We talked about it when, you know, the teammates are celebrating their teammates too. So, yeah, there's been a lot of positivity on it for sure.
I like the post last week or maybe 2 weeks ago when you took a picture of a film night. Everybody was eating pizza when you were watching film on your upcoming opponent. I don't know
Yep.
why, but I thought of football, the same thing, putting the film on of the upcoming week's team and just everybody just watching the TV, eating whatever, and just being hyper focused. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think during our season, like I said, we have a lot of distractions. And there's just some times when getting out on the field isn't what we need that day. And our coaching staff, I feel, does a really good job at just not kind of going through the motions or getting complacent with where our minds and bodies are. And, for that day, I felt like we just needed to be kind of close to one another and, watching some softball and eating some food and sharing a space that didn't involve, throwing the ball to one another. And that was the choice for that day. And the girls loved it. And, it resulted in some really good, energetic days to follow. So it was fun.
This season, coach, has been, you and I were talking about this before we started recording that, you know, when I think of softball and how the game has gone, I think, when you look at the game from the past and now you see all the talent coming through and really the next level, I think Connecticut is kind of taking that as far, with the game of softball. The SWC has a lot of very, talented teams, the Newtowns, the Massacks. I'm probably forgetting, a couple others, and I apologize. The SEC, the East Havens, the Cheshires. Again, I can go on and on and on. The point I'm trying to make is your schedule has not been easy. And 11-4 is like in the SEC, since we went to college for a second, SEC, you go undefeated minus Alabama. That's pretty impressive. And I think, for Cheshire to go through the gauntlet, playing also in Class Double L, I think I don't care what the record is, you play a tough schedule and you will be seeing some of these teams in the SEC again.
For sure. And the way that the SEC is kind of lined up, there's an alignment and it's based off of your previous year record. So, we pulled one last year, so we were one this year. So, we play against the other three top teams in the SEC along with our column and our conference. So, as far as numbers go, it would be suggest that we have the hardest schedule in the SEC, which is great. Along with that, we're able to pick up 4 games a year, and 2 of those games that we picked up were ranked teams in Southington and Waterford. So we definitely look to play the best. I think it's really not what your season or regular season your record is, but necessarily like how you're pushed, how you're challenged. Can you play in that environment? Can you get hits and clutch in those environment? Is you're mentally tough enough and strong enough to play in that environment? And how do you know that? You only know that and you can only practice it. That's kind of tough to practice at practice or apply at practice. So finding that environment to put our girls in is definitely, top priority, to make sure that we get them ready, not just for a championship, to get them ready for the next level and to get them ready for life and to get them ready for challenges and how to overcome all that stuff. So we're very lucky to have the schedule that we have, and our girls have done an amazing job at sustaining their level of play.
Coach Drust, we've just about run out of time, but I really do appreciate you coming on. Before I let you go, though, is there any, as far as shout outs to the players, Cheshire itself, anything like that before we say goodbye here?
Always shout out to my players. I'm going to shout out to my seniors this year and Grace and Emily and Charlie and Kat, and just kind of upholding our culture. The word culture is huge for us. And it's not about what we do between March and June, but what we do between, September and June. And those girls have really upheld our culture for sure in the weight room and community service and in their high level of character. And, we kind of push that culture and our core values, and, and just a shout out to our entire team and my coaching staff, the girls that sit next to me on those buckets. They're their heart, soul, mind, and body, and I appreciate their respect and loyalty all the time.
Coach, it was great to be able to have you on here, and I hope I could have you again on the
Would love
podcast
it.
sometime in the future. That'd be a
All
lot of fun.
right. All right. Well, thanks so much for having me, and go Rams, and just thanks for covering our sport. It means a lot.
No problem. That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm Marjorie. Find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.